Hello everyone, friends! Today we shall prepare a very delicious tart with apricots, crisp shortcrust pastry, soft creamy frangipane on brown butter, and juicy apricots in fragrant syrup. The tart turns out rich, multifaceted in flavor, and very aromatic. Let us cook. Let us begin with the shortcrust pastry, the base for the tart. We shall need butter of a pomade consistency. This is softened, pliable butter, yet not melted. It is soft, but keeps its shape, its temperature depending on the butter from 14 to 18 degrees. We shall also need eggs, almond flour, wheat flour, icing sugar, salt, and a little cinnamon for aroma. Into the bowl of the mixer, we place the butter and icing sugar. We mix with the paddle attachment until combined. We add the almond flour and about 1/3 of the wheat flour. We mix briefly until homogeneous. Without stopping the mixer, we add the egg and mix until combined. The dough turns out just like this, smooth and homogeneous. Now we add the remaining wheat flour, the cinnamon, and the salt. We mix quickly, only until combined. If you take the dough into your hands, it easily comes together into a ball. All that remains is to finish kneading it on the table, literally in a few movements. The main thing when working with shortcrust pastry, not to knead it for a long time and not to overheat it, so that the butter does not start melting. We immediately roll out the dough between 2 sheets of parchment. This can be done if you have worked quickly and the temperature of the dough does not exceed 22 degrees. If, however, the dough has had time to warm up, it must be placed in the refrigerator at once and you should continue working after it has stabilized. I chill the rolling pin in advance. That way it does not heat the dough. Shortcrust pastry is not rolled out in the usual sense. We rather smooth it from the center towards the edges. The parchment needs to be peeled away periodically on both sides. I roll the dough to the size of the baking tray and trim off the excess. I transfer the prepared sheet onto a chilled baking tray. Now the dough needs to stabilize in the refrigerator for no less than 8 hours. Longer is also possible. For this tart, I use this kind of long rectangular mold. I really like it, and right now such molds are trendy. I will specify the dimensions in the description under the video. The mold has a removable bottom. That is convenient. I will bake without the bottom. For shortcrust pastry, it is important that the air circulates freely, otherwise it can puff up. Therefore, I set the ring onto a perforated baking tray with a perforated mat. The ring needs to be greased with butter. If you bake with the bottom, it also needs to be greased. When the dough has cooled and stabilized, we detach it from the parchment on both sides and quickly form the base. At all stages, it is important that the dough does not warm up. First, I cut out the bottom and transfer it into the mold. Chilled dough is easily moved. Then I cut strips and lay them along the sides, lightly pressing and making sure there are no gaps at the junction with the bottom. For a beautiful relief, I run a modeling tool along the waves, gently, without strong pressure. In the end, I trim the excess dough on top with a knife. If it has become soft, it is better first to chill it and then to cut it off. That way it will come out even and neat. I make pricks in the bottom with a fork. If you have a mold with a bottom and a regular baking tray, use a weight during baking, for example, beans or special beads. I, however, bake without a weight as I showed. Now the dough needs to be thoroughly chilled again, at least for a few hours. In the meantime, we shall prepare beurre noisette. It lends the frangipane a rich, nutty flavor. Butter, cut into cubes, we place into a saucepan and begin heating. At first, the butter foams, that is the moisture evaporating. Then the proteins settle to the bottom and caramelize. The butter turns amber and acquires the characteristic nut aroma. The readiness temperature is from 144 degrees, but it is simpler to rely on the aroma, color, and sediment. As soon as an amazing nutty smell and golden hue have appeared, we remove it from the stove and strain it. The finished butter turns out transparent and very aromatic. I like it very much. It gives the dessert a special depth. If the butter is chilled, it becomes firm. It can be used not only in desserts, it has a wide range of applications in cookery. Now we shall prepare the frangipane. We will need sugar, eggs, almond flour, a little wheat flour, orange zest, and beurre noisette, cooled to 40–45 degrees. To the sugar we add the beurre noisette and the egg, whisking thoroughly until homogeneous. Then we introduce the almond flour, the wheat flour, and the orange zest. We mix well once more. The mixture will turn out quite liquid and very aromatic. We cover it with cling film in contact with the surface and place it in the refrigerator for at least a few hours. And meanwhile, we shall prepare the apricots in syrup. For the syrup, we shall need fresh orange juice, fresh lemon juice, rum or cognac, and sugar. Everything except the alcohol we combine in a saucepan and heat to a boil. The sugar must dissolve completely. While the syrup is cooking, we shall prepare the apricots. We will need the ripest, most fragrant and firm apricots. We cut them in half, remove the stones, and place them into a bowl. The syrup has come to a boil. We remove it from the heat and add the alcohol. The aroma is absolutely stunning. With the hot syrup, we pour over the prepared apricots, submerging them completely. You may also spoon some over the top so that every half is enveloped in syrup. We cover with cling film and leave to infuse for about 1 hour. Then we gently take out the apricots, set them cut side down on a rack so that the excess liquid drains off, and we move on to baking the base. The base has cooled thoroughly and stabilized. It holds its shape. Now it needs to be baked lightly so that the dough dries a little. This is the pre-baking stage. The main baking will already be with the filling. We bake at 160 degrees for from 12 to 15 minutes until the dough is lightly set. It should firm up and the bottom should become matte and dry to the touch. While the dough is hot, it is soft. We let the dough cool and begin assembly. By this moment, the frangipane has cooled nicely and thickened. I transfer it into a piping bag for convenience and fill the tart. The entire mixture goes in exactly. During baking, the frangipane will rise a little. On top, we arrange the apricots cut side up. I advise placing them closer together so that more will fit, and in every slice of the tart there will be a juicy, fragrant apricot. I laid out only a few. In the finished tart, there were not enough of them. I wanted to add more. We send the tart into an oven preheated to 160 degrees. We bake for approximately from 35 to 40 minutes, relying on your oven. The frangipane should rise, become golden, springy, and bake through completely. Approximately halfway through baking, when the filling starts to set, I gently sprinkle the surface with almond flakes so they do not burn. Look at how beautiful the tart has turned out. Golden, vibrant, with an incredible aroma. We let it cool completely in the tin, and as it cools, it pulls away from the sides. I carefully lift it by the edge and slide a cake board underneath. And look at the beauty we have ended up with. I take the hot syrup and add the pre-soaked gelatin into it. I stir well until it is completely dissolved and coat the apricots with it. It imparts a beautiful shine, enhances the flavor and aroma, and also protects the fruit from drying out. And the final touch, I decorate the tart around the perimeter with a thin edging of non-melting powdered sugar. This gives it a finished look. If desired, you can also decorate with pistachios, but in the end I liked it better without them. The tart has turned out very tasty, rich and multifaceted. A crumbly short crust base, a fragrant frangipane with a nutty citrus note, and juicy apricots in an aromatic syrup. Very tasty. Friends, that is all from me. Be sure to try the apricot tart. That was Lyuba with you. I thank all of you for your attention. See you in new videos. Bye-bye.